Incredible twist, homeless mom discovers her first love funding the soup kitchen she relies on. Sarah stood in line at the soup kitchen, her stomach tight with hunger and shame. The scent of warm broth filled the air, wrapping around her like an old, frayed blanket. She bit her lip, memories of days gone by flooding her thoughts. At 34, she had once dreamed of stability for her daughter, Mia. Now, they shared a tiny room in a homeless shelter, where every whispered conversation felt like a reminder of the life that had slipped right through her fingers. The kitchen buzzed with a melting pot of voices, the laughter of children, the chit-chat of fellow adults, the hum of street life drifting in through the open windows. Each warm bowl of soup was an act of kindness she desperately clung to. But then, as she scanned the room, a flyer slapped her in the face. Her heart hesitated. Community kitchen supported by Jake Rivers. Her first love. The very name sent cold shivers down her spine. Jake, with his bright, eager smile and dreams of making a difference. What had happened to him? And how could he be thriving while she stood here, wrapped in layers of borrowed clothing, waiting for handouts? The anger bubbled inside her, mixed with an aching vulnerability. She hadn't spoken his name in years. It felt like a lifetime since their paths had separated, and yet, here he was. A blast from her past she hadn't been prepared for. As if the universe was toying with her, Sarah found herself face to face with Jake moments later, his handsome face lined with worry as he surveyed the kitchen. Time had been kind to him, and that realization twisted like a knife in her chest. Old feelings clashed with the bitterness of needing assistance from someone who once held her heart. "Sarah?" he asked, surprise lighting his eyes. "Jake." Her voice teetered on the edge of something unspoken, words colliding in her throat. They exchanged polite pleasantries, awkward, distant, filled with uncharted emotions. "It's good to see you," she managed, barely. "It's been a long time," he replied, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of nostalgia. They stood there, trapped in memories, until he proposed a plan, a community project to transform the soup kitchen into a hub for struggling families. It could make a real difference, he urged. Despite her reservations, Sarah nodded. They dove headfirst into the project, fueled by a shared vision. But with each passing day, societal judgments weighed down on her shoulders. People looked at her with disdain, questioning her worth and choices. She wrestled with the shame that clung to her like a shadow. And yet, within that chaos, she fought back. One day, as critics murmured their opinions, Sarah's voice rose above the din. "We deserve dignity and respect," she declared, her words ringing through the cold kitchen. The room fell silent, and her declaration hung there, igniting hope in the eyes of those around her. But Jake watched, torn between admiration and the unresolved feelings that haunted him like an old ghost. Despite the shared purpose, unhealed wounds lingered between them, threatening to rip apart the fragile connection they were building. Just as the air thickened with possibility, a shocking revelation broke through the surface, leaving Sarah reeling. What truth could shake the bedrock of this newfound bond? They stood on the precipice of turmoil and redemption, each battling their pasts. Could love be found in the wreckage of their broken dreams? Sarah wondered as her heart raced, every hope intertwined with the uncertainty that lay ahead. Sarah's heart raced as she gathered the courage to confront Jake about the revelation that had just shaken her. She had overheard whispers among the kitchen volunteers earlier that day, rumors of a tragic event from Jake's life, something that had transformed him and his path. It was flooding through her thoughts now, crashing against the walls she'd carefully constructed, each wave threatening to sweep her under. "Jake," she began, her voice barely a whisper. He turned, his brow furrowed, a blend of concern and curiosity etched across his handsome features. "What is it, Sarah?" His inquiry was gentle, yet it felt like a lifeline she both wanted to grab and feared to hold. "What I heard," she paused, swallowing hard. "I heard something about your past. Something about your brother." His expression shifted, flickering like a worn-out light bulb. She noticed the way his body tensed, the shadows dancing behind his eyes. For a brief moment, he looked available, almost vulnerable, before a mask slipped back into place. "Yeah, it's true," he said, the words barely audible, as if uttering them required immense effort. "He died a few years ago. Car accident. I thought I could change things after that." The openness in his gaze stirred something within Sarah, a connection forged from shared pain. She stepped forward, the space between them narrowing. "I'm so sorry, Jake." His shoulders relaxed slightly, a silent acknowledgement of her compassion. "Thank you, but it's what changed me. Made me want to do more, to help others." The air felt charged, crackling with the unspoken between them. She didn't know if it was the grief reflected in his eyes or the weight of her own struggles that bound them together in that moment. Time faded, leaving only the present, two souls standing on the precipice of understanding. "I've been struggling too," she confessed, her voice trembling under the weight of honesty. "Every day feels like a fight. I try to get by for Mia, but it's just." A deep breath steadied her. "You've made a difference here, Jake. It makes me want to fight harder." He studied her, and she couldn't tell if he was searching for pity or admiration. "Then let us fight together. We can build this kitchen into something stronger for us, for others. This community needs us." Hope began to blossom despite the shadows of the past. "But what about us?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. The hurt, unresolved emotions lingered in the corners of her heart, refusing to be tucked away neatly. Jake hesitated, glancing away as if wrestling with ghosts. "I don't know, Sarah. We both have a lot to deal with." Her heart sank. "Right. I didn't mean to put pressure on you." He stepped closer, and she could feel his warmth, a sense of safety that had always drawn her to him. "You didn't. It's just complicated. Life is complicated." As they stood in that whirlwind of emotions, a distant cry broke the silence. The commotion from the kitchen echoed outside, a reminder of the hunger and struggle that pulsed through their lives. "Let us start with this project," Sarah said, forcing a smile. "We can figure everything else out later." Jake nodded, uncertainty still etched on his face, but a flicker of determination ignited. "Okay. One step at a time." Together, they turned towards the bustling kitchen. The warmth of the soup was comforting, but a chill lingered with the unknown. Struggling to heal their pasts, they intertwined their dreams with the hope for a better future. But as they began to work side by side, the complexities of their past loomed larger with each heartbeat. Could they truly reconcile their dreams amidst the weight of what they had lost? And as Sarah glanced over at Jake, questions filled her mind. What would it take to survive the coming storms, to finally embrace the buried truth that hung between them? The kitchen buzzed with activity as Sarah and Jake dove into work, the clanging pans and sizzling veggies providing a rhythmic backdrop to their shared silence. She focused on chopping onions, the sharp scent stinging her eyes, but it couldn't mask the way her heart felt heavy, laden with questions. Jake occasionally passed by, his movements confident yet distracted, like a man wrestling with unseen demons. "Do you think we should start a weekly meal plan?" Sarah suggested, trying to break the tension. "I mean, if we could organize it better, we might serve more people." Jake paused, leaning against the counter, his thoughtful gaze locked on her. "That's a great idea. With a plan, we can maximize what we have. Streamline the process." She felt a flicker of hope at his approval, igniting a small spark in her heart. If Jake believed in her ideas, maybe, just maybe, they could cultivate something real here. As they worked through the afternoon, Sarah caught glimpses of Jake's softer side, his easy laughter as he donned a makeshift apron, the way he chatted with the other volunteers, encouraging everyone around him. Yet every so often, she glimpsed shadows passing over his face, reminders of the pain he carried. The juxtaposition of his strength and vulnerability pulled at her insides. "Hey, can I ask something?" she asked as they stirred a massive pot of chili. "What really drove you to start this kitchen? I mean, aside from your brother." Jake exhaled deeply, the weight of his memories pressing down. After he died, I felt so helpless. I didn't want to feel that way again. Helping others was my way of reclaiming control, of making a difference. It's like, if I could change one life, maybe that would give his life meaning. His words hung in the air, painted with sorrow and purpose. You have made a difference, Jake, she affirmed softly. Look at what you've built here. He met her eyes, a flicker of gratitude warming the space between them. And you, Sarah. You fight for Mia, for your family. That's your strength. We're all just trying to make it through, aren't we? The connection felt electric, each moment vibrating with an unexpressed weight. For a brief second, Sarah envisioned a world where vulnerability could lead to trust, where dreams didn't feel so distant. And yet, doubt crept in like shadowy fog. Maybe we can be a support system for each other, she said, trying to lighten the mood. I mean, strength in numbers, right? Jake chuckled, but it was heavy with unspoken implications. Yeah, for sure. Silence settled back in, thicker than before. As the last sunlight peeked through the kitchen window, she caught a glimpse of his profile, a mask of conflict and resolve. Jake, she hesitated, remembering the breathless intensity of their earlier conversation, weighing her next words carefully. I don't want to fight alone anymore, you know. It's just exhausting. His gaze softened, but the familiar tension returned to his shoulders. Neither do I. But it's complicated. Before she could respond, the door swung open, and Mia rushed in, her face lit up with excitement. Mom! Guess what? We're having a movie night tonight. Sarah's heart leaped at the joy in her daughter's voice. That sounds amazing, sweetie. Jake's expression shifted, the mix of warmth toward Mia and the distance from Sarah creating a confusing tableau. Maybe I can join for the movie, he suggested, surprising Sarah. Really? Mia's blue eyes sparkled with hope. You have to. We're watching the dinosaur one. Looking at Mia, Sarah felt the knot in her chest loosen ever so slightly. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something. But as they all laughed together, Sarah couldn't suppress the thought that their entangled pasts were waiting to catch up with them. What would it take for her and Jake to confront those shadows once and for all? As the evening deepened, the weight of the past loomed heavier than ever, leaving her wondering if their fragile connection could withstand the truth that wanted to break free. The flickering lights of the living room cast a soft glow as Mia hurried around the house, setting up the blankets and cushions for their big movie night. Sarah watched her daughter dash back and forth, her heart swelling with pride and love. It was moments like this simple, radiant moments that reminded her of everything worth fighting for. But even as joy swirled around her, Sarah felt a familiar ache in her chest. The heaviness from the kitchen lingered, and Jake's shadow felt darker. Mom! Come on! Mia yelled, her voice bouncing off the walls like laughter, filled with impatience. Okay. I'm coming. Sarah chuckled as she shook herself free of her thoughts and joined her daughter. Jake settled on the couch, his presence filling the room with a warmth Sarah was still trying to understand. As they started the movie, Mia nestled between them, a small buffer that felt both cozy and reassuring. The sound of roaring dinosaurs echoed, but Sarah's mind wandered, drifting toward Jake's earlier revelations about loss and purpose. Why did you pick dinosaurs? She asked Mia, trying to steer her mind to lighter things. Because they're awesome. And they make everything so much cooler. Mia giggled, her wide eyes glued to the screen. The movie played on, but Sarah's attention drifted back to Jake. He seemed at ease, tucked into the couch, allowing himself a momentary escape from his burden. Each laugh from Mia pulled a smile from him that felt like sunshine breaking through a cloudy day. It filled Sarah with something sweet yet bittersweet, as she recalled his sorrow, the thing that forged him into the man sitting beside her. Do you think they can make a movie about you one day? Mia suddenly asked, looking up at Jake with unabashed admiration. The dinosaur hero. Jake chuckled, a real laugh that lit up his face momentarily. I don't think I'm quite heroic, he replied, shaking his head. But there was something in his eyes, a flicker of pride that suggested he might have seen himself that way if only for a heartbeat. Well, you're helping people. Mia insisted, her brows furrowing in concentration. That's heroic. Sarah's heart swelled at her daughter's innocence, but it also twisted with a strange sense of longing. She knew what it felt like to be both a helper and the one needing help. The delicate balance of strength and vulnerability danced in her chest, and before she could stop herself, she blurted out, "What if we turned this kitchen into something even more like a community center?" Both Jake and Mia turned to her, eyes wide, anticipation shimmering in the air. How? Jake asked, brow furrowed. What if we offered classes? Cooking, art, even tutoring. Sarah's excitement built as she spoke, painting a picture that felt tangible. People could learn new skills while helping each other. It could be so much more than just a kitchen. Mom! That sounds amazing! Mia exclaimed, clapping her hands. Jake's expression shifted, uncertainty mingling with intrigue. It could definitely be worth exploring, Jake said slowly, his thoughtful gaze piercing into her. But do you really think we could pull it off? Yes. Sarah felt alive at the thought, feeling the energy of possibility surge within her. But the weight of her reality came crashing back. Could they do it? She still had so much on her plate raising Mia, battling her own inadequacies. Let us not rush into anything, Jake cautioned gently. Building something like that will take a lot of work. I get that, Sarah replied, her voice wavering. But what if this is what we need? A way for us to heal together? The room fell silent as Jake's gaze met hers, vulnerability and determination swimming in those warm brown depths. Maybe he hesitated before continuing. Maybe this can be our turning point. As the movie continued, their eyes locked for a moment too long, emotions swirling like uncharted skies. And for Sarah, the past that hovered just outside the doorway began to feel less like a threat and more like a challenge. But uncertainty still gnawed at her inside. Would they truly be brave enough to confront their shadows? Would stepping into the light of possibility expose them, or free them? With a relaxed tension filling the air, Mia began to doze off, snuggled comfortably against Jake. They were at a crossroads, but as uncertainty lingered, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that a revelation was just one heartbeat away. Little did she know, that revelation would lead them into a world neither of them anticipated. Mia's breathing was soft and rhythmic, a comforting background to the unfolding story on screen. The movie flickered with vibrant images of dinosaurs, but Sarah felt a pang of distraction pulling her thoughts elsewhere. Jake shifted slightly, adjusting his position so he could glance at her without waking Mia. You okay? He whispered, concern etched across his features. Sarah took a deep breath, willing her worries to rest alongside her daughter. I can't shake this feeling that there is something more to life waiting for us, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake nodded slowly, his brown eyes deeply understanding. The kitchen idea, it's a big step. I know, she replied. But I feel like it could bring something back into our lives. A sense of purpose, a community. His brow furrowed again as he thought over her words. You believe it can help you? It's not just me, I want Mia to grow up seeing the good we can do together, she replied. The words felt heavy, yet a thrill coursed through her. Sarah was used to taking the safe road, but now she craved something different, something that could shift their lives towards a brighter horizon. But what if? Jake started, leaning forward, what if it doesn't work out? What if we make it bigger than we can handle? A silence filled the air, thick with uncertainties. Sarah felt a knot in her stomach, but somewhere in that intensity was a flicker of excitement. But what if it does? She countered, hope sparking in her chest. What if we help people who feel lost? Isn't that worth the risk? Jake searched her face for a hint of doubt or fear, but all he found was resolve. His expression softened. We could talk to people, see what they think. There might be others who want to jump in. Exactly. Sarah exclaimed, her excitement bubbling over. Why limit ourselves? If we share this spark with others, we can ignite something bigger than just a kitchen. A warm smile broke free on Jake's face. You're really passionate about this, huh? I have to be, she replied, her tone shifting, revealing a blend of determination and vulnerability. I want Mia to know the strength of community over isolation. I want her to see that the world can be brighter if we just take a step, together. Jake's brow relaxed as he mulled over her words, the conviction in Sarah's voice seeping into him. Maybe this was what he needed too, an escape from his own shadows. Their eyes met with a clarity that felt new, each of them seeing the potential beyond their fears. But beneath that connection, unspoken words hovered. The heaviness that lingered in her heart still buzzed, unresolved and waiting. What about you? Sarah asked. Do you want to help make this happen? I do, Jake replied, nodding. But there is something I need to tell you first, something that's been weighing on me. The playful soundtrack of the movie faded into the background. Sarah's pulse quickened. What is it? Just as he opened his mouth to speak, Mia stirred and mumbled in her sleep, her small frame wriggling closer to Jake, as if sensing the tension rising in the air. Jake hesitated, caught in a moment that felt both natural and loaded. The weight of what he would say felt heavier now, mixed with the lightness of Mia's sleepy presence. Maybe we should talk more when she's awake, he finally said, a hint of regret in his tone. Yes, of course. We'll figure this out, Sarah agreed, masking the anticipation flooding her. Whatever Jake was holding back felt monumental. The movie rolled on, but Sarah now felt an electric charge between them, a tension that could unravel or connect them deeper. As their eyes darted back to the screen, her mind danced with the possibilities ahead. Just as the scene on screen became too chaotic to follow, a knock echoed from the front door, the abrupt interruption sending a ripple of concern through Sarah. Who could that be? She muttered, glancing at Jake, eyes wide with surprise. They exchanged worried glances. The night had brought them the shimmering promise of new beginnings, but now, it felt uncertain again. With a sigh, Sarah stood up, her heart pounding. Let us find out. As she opened the door, an unexpected visitor stood there, and Sarah's world tilted again, bringing forth the kind of chaos she never saw coming. Standing at the door was a woman Sarah hadn't seen in years, yet her face was etched in memory. It was Emily, her childhood friend. Dressed in a tattered coat, her hair unkempt and wild against the cool night air, Emily looked tired, her eyes shadowed with the weight of unspoken stories. Sarah. Emily's voice cracked, carrying both surprise and desperation. Mia's asleep. Sarah stepped back instinctively. Every part of her wanted to close the door and retreat to the safety of her home. But the flicker of recognition pulled her back. What are you doing here? I didn't know where else to go, Emily said, her voice trembling. I heard you were in the area. I was hoping. She glanced past Sarah into the dim light of the room. Can I come in? Sarah hesitated, glancing at Jake. His eyes were wide with shock, mirroring her own internal turmoil. In her heart, she wanted to help, but the memories of their youth hung like shadows. They shared laughter and dreams, but also tears and unfulfilled promises. Why do you need to come in? Sarah asked softly. Emily swallowed hard. I'm not okay. I lost everything. My job, my place, I've been living in my car. She took a deep breath, pain etched on her face. I know I messed up a lot growing up, but I thought you might understand. It's hard out there. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. Jake shifted his stance, tension rolling off him as he glanced at Sarah. His silent support was undeniable, but the apprehension was palpable. Why now? Sarah pressed, still unsure. I saw something about your vision, the kitchen idea. It made me think of home, of us. I wanted to ask, can I stay for a little while? I could help. I'm a good cook. I can be useful. Emily's voice broke, cracking where hope met desperation. A part of Sarah wanted to help, but another part questioned if she had it in her to invite that past chaos back into her life. She took a breath, feeling the pulse of her heartbeat thumping with uncertainty. Mia, she's been through so much already, Sarah said guardedly. Emily nodded, her eyes clouded with regret. I know. I don't want to put you in a bad place. Please, Sarah. I swear I can contribute. I just need a chance. A moment of silence stretched painfully between them, filled with heavy emotions they both contained. As her heart tugged, Sarah thought about their long-ago dreams. They had wanted to change the world, to do something meaningful together. Could that still be alive even now? The sound of Mia stirring from her dreams pulled Sarah back to the present. She pictured her daughter, pure and hopeful. How would she feel about another person under their roof, one who had her own struggles? Okay, Sarah said finally, the warmth of compassion breaking through her doubt. You can stay for tonight. But we need to talk more about this. Thank you, Emily whispered, relief washing over her. As Sarah stepped aside to let her in, a surge of memories flooded back, the joy, the laughter, but also the heartache. It felt like opening a door to a room she had closed off long ago. As the night deepened, so did the discussions ahead. Would the kitchen plan turn into something bigger, drawing from the pain of the past? Could Emily be a part of it, or would the weight of their history pull them back? She took a deep breath, feeling trepidation creep in. Whatever decision they made next would hold the potential to either bind them together or pull them apart. The door swung closed quietly behind them, sealing in their fragile hopes and fears. Sarah felt the weight on her chest shift, yet another uncertainty loomed ahead, waiting to be uncovered. As she glanced at Jake, she knew there were truths waiting, the kind that could redefine everything they had built. What's next? She asked, hope battling with fear as they all faced the unknown together. The next morning light peeked through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow across the room. Sarah poured coffee into her favorite ceramic mug, a small comfort in a suddenly complicated world. She glanced over at Emily, still wrapped in the quilt from the couch, finally asleep. It felt strange to have her childhood friend back, yet their reunion was wrapped in a tension that snagged at Sarah's heart. Mama? Mia's voice broke through the silence, soft and curious. Sarah turned to find her little girl paddling down the hallway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Who's that? That's Emily, an old friend of mine, Sarah said, crouching to meet Mia at eye level. She's going to stay with us for a bit. Mia tilted her head, the innocent questions swirling behind her sparkly brown eyes. Is she nice? Sarah hesitated, searching for the right words. She's trying to be nice. Sometimes life is tough, and people need help. Mia nodded slowly. Like when I help you cook. Exactly. Sarah forced a smile, knowing the kitchen's plans needed to expand, not only to include Mia but perhaps Emily as well. A feeling stirred in her, a mix of hope and unease. After breakfast, Sarah and Mia set to work, tidying up the living room while Jake helped Emily gather her things. There was little time to ease into their new reality. Emily's presence introduced an urgency to figure things out. When Emily finally emerged, she looked slightly more put together. The color in her cheeks returned, and though her clothes were still worn, there was a determined light about her. Thanks for letting me crash, she said, a shy smile crossing her face. I really appreciate it. Sarah wanted to respond, to welcome her properly, but the weight of past grievances lingered like shadows. Instead, she offered, let us start planning the kitchen. I could use your ideas. Emily's eyes brightened. I'd love that. I've always believed in what we could make together. As they began discussing the menu, what would appeal to those in need, Emily's enthusiasm swept through the room. They shared ideas about fresh produce from local farmers markets and engaging community volunteers. Mia, sitting cross-legged nearby, chimed in with her favorite dishes that made Sarah smile. However, a knot twisted in Sarah's stomach. She found herself wondering if this would truly work. Could Emily's past transform into something beautiful now? The image of two friends cooking side by side felt hopeful but precariously balanced. 2 hours flew by before both women realized they had built a framework for the kitchen's first week. "This is exciting," Emily said, her voice full of a spark that reminded Sarah of their teenage days. "Yes, it is," Sarah replied cautiously, weighing her feelings. Just then, Jake entered, a strange expression on his face. "There is something you should know," he started slowly, looking at Emily before turning back to Sarah. His words hung in the air heavily. "What is it?" Sarah asked, her stomach coiling tighter. "There's been some buzz around town. It seems that someone has been funding local soup kitchens. Big backers, all the way from Seattle. Did you know that?" Emily's gaze sharpened. "No, but what does this have to do with us?" Jake took a breath, his eyes darting between the two women. "The sources say they might be connected to someone from your past, Emily. Someone who could change everything." A silence fell, thick with uncertainty. Sarah's heart raced. What did this mean for Emily? And what if the person from her past resurfaced just as she was trying to reclaim her future? Sarah's mind raced, flashes of her childhood intertwined with the present moment, tinged with trepidation. As she looked at Emily, questions filled her like turbulent waves. Who was it? And what did they want? Who are they? She whispered, as the door to their collective past began to creak open. Emily's face went pale, the brightness she had just shown dimming like a candle snuffed out. Memories surged back, faces and names she had long buried. "I don't know who it could be," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake shifted uncomfortably. "If it's someone important, you should probably find out. It might change everything for you, and for us." "Us?" Sarah echoed, surprised at the ownership Jake had taken. But she quickly pressed her lips together, reminding herself that they were in this together, however complicated it felt. Mia, blissfully unaware, stood by the kitchen table, her hands on the wood, studying the sketches Emily had drawn up for the soup kitchen. "Can I help?" she asked eagerly, her face lighting up again with excitement. "Of course." Emily jumped at the opportunity, her tone brightening. "How about you help us think of a name for the kitchen? Like Mia's kitchen?" she suggested, grinning from ear to ear. "Maybe something a little more professional," Sarah suggested, though Mia's joy was hard to resist. "But that's a good start." The tension in the room began to lift as they all threw out ideas. Laughter bubbled up, and for a moment, Sarah allowed herself to forget the storm building on the horizon. She caught Emily's eye, and a shared smile lingered. This was what they had done together before, dreamed about the future, even through hardship. But as the afternoon stretched on, the past loomed larger in Emily's eyes. She was lost in thought as they worked, her hands moving almost mechanically over the sketches. Sarah tapped her shoulder gently. "What's wrong?" Emily sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "If they really are connected to someone from my past, it could mean that I'll have to face it, or them. I thought I'd left all that behind. What if this is a chance to change your story?" Jake offered, surprising Sarah with his supportive stance. Emily shot him a skeptical glance. "Change my story? You mean like a fairy tale ending? I'm not some princess waiting to be saved." "Maybe not, but everyone deserves a second chance," he replied softly. Sarah noticed a flicker of something in Emily's eyes. Was it hope mingled with fear? The air grew still, and the weight of that unspoken potential lingered over them. Just as they seemed to be processing their thoughts, a loud knock shattered the moment. It echoed through the small house, abrupt and commanding. Who could that be? Sarah wondered aloud, but anxiety twisted in her stomach again. Jake glanced at Emily, who had paled once more. What if it's them? Only one way to find out, Sarah said, trying to take charge, though dread gnawed at her insides. As she walked toward the door, the weight of uncertainty sat heavily on her shoulders. She swung it open, and there stood a figure she didn't expect. Surprise! The visitor exclaimed, and Sarah's breath caught as memories surged once again. Mark. She breathed out. The name felt like the punch of a wave crashing down, pulling her under into the swirling tide of her past. Had the past truly come knocking? What did it mean that Emily's story was about to intertwine with hers once again? The uncertainty of it all hung thick in the air like a storm waiting to break. Would this reunion lead to healing or further heartache? Emily's heart raced as she stood frozen in place, her eyes locked onto Mark's familiar face. He hadn't changed much, still the same tousled hair, still flashing that warm smile that used to seep into her dreams. But now, it felt like an ice cube encased in the heat of a fiery memory, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the warmth was a prelude to something cold and unsettling. Sarah. It's been 5 years? Mark said, stepping forward with the casual ease of someone who hadn't just walked back into a whirlwind of emotion. Yeah, 5 years, Sarah replied, her voice shaky but determined to hold steady. She looked at Emily, who was still standing at the doorway, her expression unreadable. What are you doing here? Mark took a deep breath, collecting himself. I heard about the soup kitchen. Thought I'd stop by and see if I could help out. He gestured towards the messy kitchen table where sketches lay. I knew you'd be involved, as always. Emily felt the knot in her stomach tighten further. Help out? She echoed, her voice cracking slightly. You mean financially? Yeah, I came into some money, he replied, raking a hand through his hair. Thought it'd be a good way to give back. Just seemed like the right time. 5 years had passed, but haunting feelings festered just beneath the surface. Between them, quiet tension buzzed like a live wire, crackling with the weight of their shared past. Mia, sensing the change in energy, sidled up to Sarah. Is he a nice guy, Mom? She whispered, curiosity radiant in her eyes. It's complicated, honey, Sarah replied softly. She felt the weight of the moment. Could she shield her daughter from this? I can help with the kitchen, Mark said again, his voice more hopeful now. Is that cool with all of you? Emily took a step back, pressing her palms against the doorframe. Cool isn't really the word I'd use. She struggled for a moment, we have different ideas about how to help. Mark's brow furrowed, clearly confused but persistent. I just want to contribute, Em. Whatever it takes. The sincerity in his voice sent another wave crashing over her. Is it about you making amends? She shot back, steeling herself. You didn't care before, so what changed? Things are different now, he insisted, his tone shifting to earnest. People change, Emily. Do they? She challenged, anger flaring up, igniting old wounds. Would you even want to do this if it didn't involve me? Jake glanced between Emily and Mark, unsure of how to diffuse the intensity buzzing through the room. Maybe we should all just take a breath, he suggested gently. We're all here for the same reason. But the air hung heavy, dense with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. Sarah watched helplessly, knowing they had opened Pandora's box, and anything could crawl out. The door squeaked slightly in the breeze as Emily took another step back, shaking her head. I know you mean well, Mark, but I'm not ready for this, whatever this is. Just trying to reach out, he said, his voice softening again, like he was wounded. The sight of them both standing there, two people connected by shared moments, yet so estranged, made Sarah's heart ache. What are we supposed to do with all of this? She whispered, glancing at Jake, who looked equally lost. Emily closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of every past decision swirling within her. Did she want to let him in? Did she dare to change what came next? The door felt like a barrier one she didn't want to cross, but knew wasn't just hers to open or close. As she finally turned to face them, the uncertainty of the moment felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, a breeze tugging at her, daring her to leap. Would she let her past dictate her future, or could she take a step forward into the unknown? The air shimmered with possibilities, all hanging delicately on the answer that was yet to come. Emily took a step back from the door, her heart pounding in her chest. "I need time," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Time to figure out what all of this means." Mark lingered on the threshold, his expression shifting from hope to concern. "I didn't come to mess up your life, Em. I genuinely want to help. I'm not the same person I was before. You think you're different, but it feels like you're just trying to fix your mistakes with a nice gesture," she countered, the weight of their past crashing down around them. Memories of long-forgotten promises danced in her mind like shadows, taunting her with what could have been. Jake stepped closer, trying to ease the tension. "Mark, maybe you should take a moment to reflect," he said, his tone firm. "Emily has her own journey. We're all trying to make this kitchen a safe haven, and we owe it to ourselves to make sure it stays that way." "Look, I get it," Mark said, raising his hands defensively. "Just coming back here was a risk for me, too. I thought maybe we could help, together. But if you don't want that, I respect it." Mia peered at them, her innocent eyes full of curiosity and confusion. "Are you all okay?" she asked softly, her little voice cutting through the tension like a warm knife through cold butter. Sarah crouched down to Mia's level. "Yeah, sweetheart. Just a lot of grown-up stuff going on." With a deep breath, Emily found her voice again. "I appreciate your desire to help, Mark, truly. But I need boundaries. I have a lot to unpack here, and this kitchen, our kitchen, means everything to me." Mark took a step back, clearly hurt by her words. "Fine. I'll find my own path." The resolve in his voice surprised Emily, yet a small part of her softened at his pain. Deep down, she'd always known Mark cared. It was a messy history that complicated everything. "Just give me time to figure this out," she said quietly. As Mark turned away, Sarah felt the weight shift in the room. Emily gazed at the floor, feeling a mix of relief and regret. The door closed with a soft click, sealing off the past for now but leaving the air thick with unresolved feelings. "You handled that well," Jake said, his voice gentle but steady. "You put yourself first." Emily nodded slowly, still processing the encounter. "Thanks. I needed to speak my truth, but it still hurts." Mia, uncertain of what had just transpired, ran up to Emily and wrapped her arms around her. "You're brave. I like how you stood up for what you want." A smile broke through Emily's grief, the sweetness of Mia's innocence wrapping around her like a warm hug. "Thank you, Mia. That really means a lot." In that moment, Sarah recognized the tenderness of their little community, how everyone was healing and growing together, each carrying their burdens while still daring to embrace the future. "What if we channeled this energy into the kitchen?" she suggested. "Let us make the first meal a celebration, a fresh start." Emily looked at Sarah, the weight of the situation slightly lifted. "That could be great. Change the narrative, empower others." "Exactly," Jake added with fervor. "Let us spread the word, get people involved. This kitchen can be a real lifeline for our community, something that inspires hope despite our pasts." With newfound clarity, Emily felt a surge of determination. This kitchen wasn't just about food, it was a symbol of resilience, of dreams reborn. Let us empower others by sharing our stories. We're all fighting battles, and if we come together, yes. Sarah interrupted, a thrilled smile replacing her earlier anxiety. "If we come together, we can lend strength to those who feel lost." Mia clapped her hands in delight. "Can we have a parade?" she suggested, her eyes sparkling. "Absolutely." Jake chuckled. "A celebration parade it is." United in purpose, they began to sketch out plans for the kitchen, enthusiastic voices filling the once somber air. They brainstormed themes, menus, and logistic details, laughter mingling with a shared mission that knit them closer together than ever before. Emily felt lighter, almost giddy at the thought that alongside Sarah and Mia, they were forging a new future. With the past still hovering, Emily knew that facing its shadows would take time. But as she watched Mia twirl with excitement, she felt hope blooming in her heart. They were not alone, they were creating something beautiful together. As they worked side by side, the world outside faded, leaving only the warmth of community building, laughter, and the tantalizing scent of the future. With determination in their hearts, they closed in on their vision, a space where every meal could be a reminder of love, resilience, and their fierce belief in new beginnings. And in this moment, they all knew whatever awaited outside, together, they were ready to face it. Now, this is the time for you to keep this story alive. You need to subscribe now, to not miss the next amazing journey we embark on together. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your love for this series. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformative ending, share what it means to you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Your support is what keeps these stories coming.